Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gill. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Skyhawk Security, and I'm joined by Nathan Schmidt, our Solutions Engineer. So let's get started. Okay, so today's webinar is They Did Everything Right, Yet our AI Red team was able to take over their organization in seconds. So this is the agenda for today. In a minute, I'll give you a little bit of background on Nathan and myself. We'll go over the market overview, a customer example, Skyhawk security overview, a demo, case studies, and then any questions that anyone might have. So first, my name is Jennifer Gill. As I mentioned, I'm VP of Marketing here at Skyhawk. I've been doing high-tech product marketing for over 25 years, with more than 5 years in security product marketing, and I've had leadership positions at various organizations. Nathan Schmidt is our solutions architect, and he also has over 25 years as a solution architect, sales engineer, and other technical roles helping customers build and secure their environments. So thank you, Nathan.
No, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So AI-enabled attacks are here. This is really what's going on in the market. And if you look at the market perspective, I don't know if anyone saw 60 Minutes. This is a while ago now, way back in November, but they talked about a AI orchestrated cyber campaign that they noticed. The segment is really, really good. We have a blog on it on our website, and you can link to the segment. AI-assisted threat actor compromised 600 FortiGate devices. So, and then HackerBot Claw, we see things across GitHub and things like that. So in terms of like, are these attacks happening? They're ramping up. Threat actors have figured out, wow, I don't need to be super smart. I just need to know how to prompt AI to be super smart and breach your cloud. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they just keep coming in too. I mean, the most recent it's actually not the most recent, but the one that is certainly being talked about most recently across the folks that I talk to on a regular basis, they're talking about the Hugging Face
Mm.
situation that happened where OpenAI was able to get past its guardrails and get into Hugging Face. And I think that just really points to the broader thing here is that, we talk about, the course of this webinar is to talk about I've done everything right. Well, people can think I've got the guardrails in place, I'm doing all the right things, and still they find a way through. And I think that's going to be the really important theme here for today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and that's a great point on the hugging incident. And from a Gartner perspective, they posted a paper in May, and they've continued to update their thoughts around AI-enabled threat actors, AI-enabled attacks, AI-enabled security. And if you look at the insight, the primary AI augmented threat facing enterprises today is threat actors leveraging and abusing widely available AI tools to scale and enhance existing tactics, not the invention of net new attack methods. So they're not doing anything new. They're just using what they have at their disposal to breach your cloud.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if anyone's looked at the CrowdStrike Global Threat Report that came out earlier this year. There are quite a few interesting metrics for us. The first is AI autonomous attacks have increased 89% year over year, so they've almost doubled. Year over year attack velocity has increased, so the vulnerability list grows longer, context grows shorter. And I do the two in the middle together because if we look at it takes an AI-enabled threat actor 27 minutes to execute their attack end to end. Last year was 59 minutes, so it's been cut in half, better than in half. But then the human response time is 6 hours. Those two things don't align. And Nathan, I know you had something to talk about. Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, this is where I think it's interesting how the market is responding to these increased AI autonomous attacks, right? It's that, well, we just need to do what we've always done faster. And if we just remediate faster, if we automate that and we do that faster, if we just react faster, this is going to save us. And but whenever there's a human involved, even the best AI response mechanisms claim to be able to reduce that time by 90%. But even when you reduce 6 hours by 90%, that's still more than 27 minutes, which is the average AI attack duration. So you're not even with the best tools on the market with the most, substantial claims, you're not getting close to what that is. And I think that's where a big part of this is why Skyhawk exists is truly understanding what Skyhawk is doing and why we're here and why we're saying AI attacks are here right now is because, our CEO tells this story about how, in the early days of starting up Skyhawk, how he was, there were always script kiddies that we
Yeah.
we still call them script kiddies, I guess. That doesn't
Yeah.
completely age me into oblivion, but they would just go to GitHub and be able to download tools that they could, there would be new tools that they could download and attack infrastructure and attack various things. But now, and his concern was always they were just going to use a credit card and go out to one of these LLMs and use that to attack. That's not the future anymore. That is here and it's now. And I think that points to the importance of, you want to attack your infrastructure. And this is something that he says with the technology that's going to be used to attack you. And that's what we're doing at Skyhawk today. We'll certainly talk about it more over the course of the webinar here today, but I like to talk about it here because I think it's a really important to wrap your head around the how and the whys that we're going to get into later.
Yeah, for sure. And just the last point here, it's not if, it's
Yeah.
when. Like this is going to happen. It's just we don't know when exactly, and you need to be ready for it. So Skyhawk's platform has two key sides. So we have left of boom and right of boom, which why it's really a great comprehensive cloud security platform. So the heart of the platform is the AI red team. So this continuously maps your cloud architecture, continuously maps your security controls, and it does this in a non-destructive way. And then based on your architecture and security controls, it creates custom attacks with our AI red team. And it's funny, I had a meeting this morning with a client that I work with, and they talked about, well, you're like BAS or you're like a pen tester. I said, no, we don't come in with a script of like, here are all the attacks that we're going to execute against your environment, because our platform doesn't know what your environment looks like. It doesn't know what your security controls look like. This is customized on the fly with AI, and that is so, so powerful. And with that, we can identify the exposures with a full cloud context before threat actors actually exploit it. So if you've looked at preemptive exposure management, Gartner put this category forth. So that's something that we really thrive in that category. It's a very complementary security platform, and you'll see that through our case studies, actually. So if you go to our website right now, we did a webinar in March where this customer had a leading CNAP platform, and they were able to go from all the threats that they had, they're focusing on the top 0.3% of those alerts from that CNAP. So think how many alerts you have in your CNAP and reducing them by 99.7%. Like that would make you very, very happy. And we do this in collaboration with other AWS security tools. So we just announced an integration with AWS Continuum. We work with GuardDuty, any of the cloud native tools you have right now. We're an AWS partner and we are able to partner with them. We also support Azure and Google, and we have partners there too. I should mention that. There are no favorites. So then right of boom for response. So because the AI red team has executed these attacks and shown you what they're going to look like, our AI blue team has seen them before, if you know what I mean. So it's like, hey, I've seen this attack scenario, and I know these first 3 steps, if they execute these next 5 steps, they're going to get to this S3 bucket, and that would be bad. or they would get to this permission and that would be bad. So we're able to alert very early for a very early threat detection. So we're able to respond to AI speed with these pre-validated responses that again we do in this rehearsal. And lastly, we're able to validate security controls that you have in place. So it's like a compensating control to find out if there's a gap before your threat actors do. Nathan, did I miss anything?
You do not, and I'm going to be very excited to show people what this looks like in the demo. So you hit the
Perfect.
nail on the head.
Okay. So this is kind of the main use case. We have many use cases in the platform, but just to set the stage. So we're able to take over an AWS Org in seconds. So what's the situation? So we had a fintech company say, hey, can you come and evaluate our security controls against an AI-enabled attacker? Sure. So they said, hey, we have no misconfigurations. We're a member of the Zero Critical Club. Like, we're not going to be able to find anything. And so the red team was able to dynamically manipulate and chain together legitimate controls to get to that takeover. And this is something we like to say a lot. So the AI-enabled attackers don't follow the graph, they rewrite it.
I mean, in a lot of ways, you can almost think of this as like Mythos or Project Glasswing for your cloud infrastructure, right?
Mm,
Because that's what Fable and Mythos and all those things are doing, right? They're identifying these legitimate application level concerns that are being strung together to be able to show you how an application is vulnerable. We're doing that same thing inside of your public cloud infrastructure. Again, AWS, Azure, GCP, and in this case with the AWS, it's really important because, I think a lot of people presume that because you're seeing like it, you're seeing the map and how everything is laid out. You're looking at the chessboard and you know what pieces are on the board because you've got all these tools. They're telling you all of what chess pieces are. I think that the challenge is AI has the ability to create more queens on your chessboard in
yeah.
a way that you hadn't expected. And that is where this gets challenged is because you're just looking at what's there, not what could happen if there were other scenarios. And while it is not a legitimate game of chess to have multiple queens on your side of the board, the AI attackers aren't playing fair either. There's no rules in this. So they're doing whatever is necessary to do what it takes in the shortest number of moves, to make the biggest examples of compromise.
For sure. And I think we have one more slide with this, a few more details.
Yeah.
So I think what was shocking is they did everything right, as we say in the title of the webinar. They had the best in class tooling. It was deployed, it was integrated across their entire AWS infrastructure. They had no misconfigurations. Everything was there. And what they did have was how the attack was executed was invisible to the static analysis tools. Theoretical exposure has a ceiling, and an AI-enabled threat actor can exploit that. So the dangerous gap isn't necessarily what's broken, it's what can be allowed. What does your infrastructure allow for? And you don't know that until you have an AI-enabled threat actor pushing the limits and boundaries of everything that's in your cloud. So I am going to, I think the next slide, yes, demo. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Nathan.
Right. I'm going to start sharing. All right. I got the green light. Are we visible?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Always in these, you have to just double check that it's actually displaying what you want it to do. So, all right. So look, we talked a lot about the left of boom and the right of boom, and we're going to be talking about sort of how this relates and from a prioritization standpoint. So we'll talk through those pieces, but I definitely want to show you what the AI red team looks like. And talk about how this works. And I think the most important thing to take away from here, and Jen, you talked a little bit about this as we were heading this way into the demo, which was, we're not doing just standard plays. These aren't tabletop exercises. These aren't pre-scripted things that we're doing here. What we are actually doing is we have a proprietary autonomous AI red team that's trained on thousands of TTPs. And each one of those TTPs in our AI red team almost it acts like its own agentic AI. And all of those agents are working together to be able to figure out how to compromise the account. And each one of those tasks can lead to multiple permutations. And you'll see that as we go through this as well, that there's more than one way to eat Reese's, but some are messier than others, right? And I think that's what we ultimately end up showing here in this case. But from that perspective, this is a visual example of what we described in the scenario leading up to this, where, there was no criticals. They were doing everything that they were supposed to do. But there were still at least three different accounts. These could be users, they could be service accounts, it could be roles. There's all kinds of ways for these things to happen. But what we're able to demonstrate is we show you in the timeline that in this case it took minutes, but it can take literal seconds to go in and be able to see how an AI attacker can get cross account access, get access to infrastructure, and that infrastructure may have an instance profile. It may have a role or something associated with that allows it to control things in other accounts. These are not uncommon setups inside a lot of the infrastructures that we analyze with Skyhawk. And so, having things with excessive permissions, with put role, with assume role capabilities, it just puts you and your configurations in a position where this timeline can extend to the point where you end up with full account compromise into your AWS organization. And the cool thing about what we're doing with Skyhawk is we show this to you step by step, not just in the visual form, but we show this to you in a way that you can be able to understand that there are no false positives. We come with the receipts, and those receipts are showing you, hey, it was able to get the information about the roles. Here's what it was able to do. It was able to describe the instances. It was able to create its own security group. It was able to create its own ingress and egress into the environment. These are the things that enable it to do things in the environment. That's why I talked about creating new queens on the chessboard, because yeah, that's not part of the rules, but because those rules don't exist in your infrastructure, and AI says, hey, it's telling me I can't do this, so why shouldn't I go ahead and be able to make these changes? And so what we offer you in that left of boom is being able to see this from both the perspective of how this can be fixed. What can I do? Where can I start my focus to be able to start fixing these things? We demonstrate that in our attack map. We show you exactly what this attack and how these paths map out across your infrastructure so that you can actually fix these. We provide for you a great storyline, the root cause of what this is, and of course, we take you that last mile. We're never going to ask for the permissions, the egregious permissions to automatically do these remediations, but we're definitely going to provide you with the things that you can do to fix this directly, including if you have Terraform or you're running Git Runner or whatever PR you need to update to be able to make these changes. You can generate those scripts as well and be able to see and script and automate from your side what you need to do to fix this. So that's the left of boom story and what you can do to potentially fix those things. I want to pause real quick. I know we've got some folks in. Any activity in the chat so far? Anything that you think I've missed so far?
You haven't missed anything, but I should
All
have
right.
said, yes, please ask questions in the chat, but there is a question that came in. Someone
Okay.
was asked how we do this attack. So I think they're probably asking about the simulation twin or digital twin. So
Mm.
Nathan, we didn't mention that because we talk about kind of the benefits and not the architecture. Can you talk about the architecture a little bit with that?
Absolutely. And you caught me. I was so engrossed in telling the
Yeah.
story of the other pieces I skipped over that. Absolutely. So when I talk about the thousands of TTPs and those agents working together, what we're effectively doing is we are doing this against a simulation. So the market calls it a digital twin. There's lots of names for it, but effectively what we are doing is if you think about like how these other tools are creating the graph, we certainly talked about it in the lead into the demo today. um, what we're actually doing is we're taking that graph and we're telling the AI, if you simulate what this is, what can you do to change this graph? How can you actually take these thousands of TTPs acting as individual agents? What can you actually do in this simulation? And these are the simulations that we actually show. So yes, thank you so much. I'm so caught up in the story, didn't talk about the how on this, but no, a great point. And this is a great segue because it also helps me be able to talk about. I'll get back to the third party controls here in a second, but talking about simulations, when we talk about the write a boom side of the equation as well, where we're also wanting to understand, how can this be used? Maybe you can't automatically fix this. Maybe you can't go in because there's a change control process that your company has to go through before you can actually get and make changes to some of these. Maybe there's some roles or some processes, or you need to do some testing before these are done. this this tool, Skyhawk, gives you the ability to understand in that simulation how we would respond in these situations. So now you have the ability to be able to take this into your SOAR, into your Splunk, into whatever you're doing to be able to help mitigate things that are happening in your environment. Now you have now you have a little bit of a crystal ball. You have Skyhawk as your precog to tell you what could potentially happen if somebody were to take advantage of this attack. And there's a couple of ways that we do this. Number one, we'll show this to you from our perspective, but we'll also show you if you connect things like Trend Micro, or maybe you've got CloudWatch that you're using along with your inspector and guard duty and things in AWS. Maybe you've got CrowdStrike or Splunk or these other tools. We're going to show you as well how they will respond so that you can see what this would look like in your environment should you have those tools. But we also provide for you any updates to this. So maybe in CloudWatch, if you had this additional filter turned on, this would be an easy way to do that. And if you want to script that, using Bash and be able to do that on the command line, or however it is that you want to update Splunk with your with some Python as well. We offer again those last mile capabilities for you to download and be able to capture whatever you want to update your environment. So this is just again a quick nickel tour of what we're doing across what we call our purple team, the red team, and blue team. Now, with that being said, I'll pause there. Any quick questions or anything that have come in with there before I go into more of the prioritization story to lead
Yep.
us out?
So I'm going to add to it and then I'm going to ask the question. So first on
Mm,
that simulation twin, you'll hear it called a lot of different things. So simulation twin, digital twin, AI-based digital model, all those words, it means the same thing. It's an AI-based simulation. And
yes.
someone said, well, what's the impact to my environment?
Hmm.
So it doesn't run in your environment. So Nathan, over to you on clarifying.
Yeah, no, great question. And again, this is one of those things, and I know some folks are like, I don't, you're doing a simulation, you're doing a digital twin. Yes, we're not copying anything inside of your environment. We're not duplicating, we're not having to get permissions to things. This is the beauty of Skyhawk, is that we're doing this simulation in a way that it's truly one of our secret sauce, is one of our distinctions versus the industry, is that there's all these words for it. But yes, we're not looking to duplicate the environment. We're not looking to get any sort of permissions that would get access to your sensitive data. What this allows us to do is to be able to test things like your production environment, where your critical assets are, without having to actually risk business continuity, without having to risk, actually harming your production environment, like a lot of other AI attack surface tooling and pen testing and those tools will do in a production environment. You can't just let them loose and do all the things, because they could actually hurt you. So that's the benefit of doing this in the simulation, is that allows us to be able to get as close as we can to this production environment, understand how your critical assets work inside this environment, so that we're not impacting you or your business, and yet you're still getting the access to this great information about what's going on inside of your infrastructure. So, great question. Thank you so much for asking.
So, and the only thing I would add to that is that simulation is hosted within our cloud.
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, so we're pulling logs, telemetry, all kinds of information from your cloud, and we pull that over to create that AI-based digital model simulation, digital twin, whatever you want to call it, and that simulation runs on our side.
And it's read-only permissions. So we're not asking for anything that would take any of your sensitive data out of your cloud and putting into ours. Think of it like we're just collecting the metadata about your cloud, so that we can use that in a simulation to be able to mimic how your cloud is laid out, so that we can do these amazing things with the autonomous agentic AI. And again, I use agentic. And another question that comes up quite a bit that I'll preempt here is that we don't actually install any agents, right? This is agentless. It's hard. There's just so few words to describe all these things. You have AI agentic AI, but we don't use agents. So anyway, I like to joke about that. But yeah, so no agents installed. You're not having to manage things on endpoints. Another question that comes up frequently
I just
around
said
that.
you beat me to my question.
See, I knew it was there.
Yep.
Um, so real quick, before I go any further, one of the things that I know we're going to talk about, and I just want to connect some dots here, in that AWS Org takeover example with that customer. Again, the important thing to take away here from Skyhawk is not that CNAP is bad, or we're not looking to replace those things necessarily. What we're looking to do here is be able to augment, to make better, to help. I use this phrase a lot in my calls. When you're presented with vulnerabilities and the things the CNAPs are finding inside of your cloud, there's all of these compliance concerns and all of these challenges that need to be taken care of. But from a security aspect, you need to know, in a stack of needles, which is the sharpest one, which is going to hurt you, what is the thing that is most going to potentially cause impact to your infrastructure and to your business. And so what we do, and what you're seeing across the Skyhawk platform, and why we bring to you that left of boom sort of visibility into what could happen inside of your cloud. We're going to integrate both terms of the infrastructure, and if you have a tool like Amazon Inspector, you've got any of the top leading tools, Wiz, Tenable, Prisma, whatever the case may be, just like we are seeing from that security control validation with Rapid7 and Trend Micro that we saw in that blue teaming, we're able to take in that vulnerability information as well and show you exactly not just what's theoretically exploitable, like a lot of the criticality that shows up, just like we saw in the example in this customer we're talking about. They took care of all the criticals in their environment, but they still had things that can hurt them. That's what's weaponizable. That's what we're showing you inside the Skyhawk platform. And when you use our business priority capabilities in here as well, what you get is the ability to prioritize exactly the risks, the true risks in your environment, the weaponizable risks that are in your environment, and being able to show those to you in a way that, however you operationalize this, through maybe you're using ServiceNow, maybe you're using Jira, maybe you have this going into some sort of security data lake or something along those lines. We integrate in the way that you work. But what we're going to provide for you is this impacting your crown jewels, your most critical assets in your environment. So those business priority rules you can set up for, specific accounts, subscriptions, projects. Maybe you're using tagging. Maybe you're ahead of the game and you're using, data discovery and classification. And so you know where all your sensitive assets are, and you've named those in you have a naming convention. We can understand that and be able to show you where these things are so that when these do end up in the processes and the ways that your business works and operates for security, you're going to see which one of these you need to work on first. Maybe you have a concern from a PCI DSS. There's a newfound concern around global threat actors. We show that to you as well. So if we're bringing in those vulnerabilities and we know that a global threat actor is focused on a certain set of CVEs, we can show that. So maybe there's a global threat actor on a non-crown jewel, but it's still a production environment. Maybe you want to take care of that first as well. We work the way that you need to work. And that is all based on prioritization. We'll talk a little bit about that as we bend out and get into some of the case studies that we're able to utilize this to. Any other questions before I stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Jen?
I don't see any other questions. No,
All right. So let me go ahead and stop the share wherever my tool is. There it is. And
I know
ended
the
up on
bar
some.
moves. Let me
Yeah,
just.
it was on this screen and then it was over here. So anyway, over to you, Jen.
Thank you. Okay. So just to kind of wrap up, and we do have a couple case studies, as Nathan mentioned. So every alert you chase is a breach you almost missed. So we found customers are wasting time on false positives. 99% of the alerts don't put you at risk. You have delayed detection, and with extended MTD, mean time to detection, mean time to response. And responding to malicious activity, it's probably already too late. Because if you remember at the beginning, it's 27 minutes for an AI-enabled threat actor. You're responding 6 hours. Even if you are 1 hour, they're already in and out. So security can be a bottleneck, and the cost can be up to $4.5 million. So it's quite an expense. But we do have some successful case studies. So Sunday Sky. So that chart that Nathan showed you with the 115,000 down to so many CVEs that are a threat. So they now have a laser focus on 0.3% of their alerts. So they were experiencing alert fatigue. That's like everybody in security. They had too many alerts. There was no signal on whether security was improving. So they could see what actually is weaponized. So what a threat actor could use to breach their cloud. And they were able to save hours every week. And people feel better because they see that number going down. They're like, wow, I'm doing work and there's an impact, and it just makes the team morale improve. And that seems, I know that's kind of maybe a little bit of a soft skill, but when you're chasing things and doing all this work and not seeing the end of the tunnel, it can be frustrating for anybody. And so when you're able to see like, wow, we had, 1,000 CVEs and now we're down to 800. Now we're down to 450. You're chipping away at that number. It's going down, down, down. That's also one aspect of a report that you can take to the board or executive team. So we have talked more about kind of like the security analyst and the director of security, director of cloud security, that kind of level. But I'm sure the CISO gets asked, what's our risk profile? Is our security profile improving? And a lot of times you're like, I don't, maybe, I don't know. With Skyhawk, you can show, yes, it is improving. We had this many weaponized alerts, and now we're down to 0 for the ones, and for everything else, we have a plan in place with the blue team. It's got automated response. We rehearse the attacks.
I knew this slide was here, which is why I saved this statement for the slide, is that Sunday Sky isn't alone. All of our customers that connect their vulnerabilities, they're seeing at least a 99% reduction
Yeah.
in this. So, getting to 99.7, I mean, that's fantastic. But I mean, Jennifer's absolutely right. Look, our goal with this is being able to help take that noise out of the equation, be able to reduce that down to a manageable number. I mean, you're going to need to deal with that compliance at some point eventually, but being able to know which ones to focus on now helps that never-ending story be a little bit more manageable in terms of what you need to focus on first. And so I think this is a great example of how when everything's working together, you really see that reduction and are able to show the real value to your business leaders to see that there is a return on the investment
Yeah.
in what we're doing with the folks here at the company to deal with security.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have one more case study. So this was with IBEX. So they're able to save significant time again with the alert prioritization. It's a common theme. I don't think you'll talk to any security team that says, we have no alert fatigue. We're great. Like it's always an issue. And I think what I found to be really interesting from this case study in particular, because so we're a cloud-based security platform, as I mentioned, AWS, Google, Azure, so we only support the cloud, but it's so easy to spin up infrastructure in the cloud, like literally a credit card, or if you have the right permissions, you can just do it for your company's environment. Like, so they said, we thought we were only seeing what's under the flashlight. Like we didn't know what we don't know. And so with an AI-based red team that's kind of mapping everything for you, they're not missing anything. So they felt a lot more confident that like not only are we being, as you can see from the quote, we're not just being proactive with our cloud security, we get hours back in our day. We feel like we have a handle on it too. We feel like we can see all of our cloud assets and we are managing them and securing them. So that I think was a good kind of peace of mind exercise for them as well. And so what can you do next? So first, feel free to email Nathan or myself. You can email us directly. If you don't want to talk to us, that's also okay. You can go to our
We
website.
won't take it personally,
That's
right?
right, for sure. You can go to our website and book a meeting. So we have it's like I can't remember if it says get a demo or book a meeting. If you click on that, you fill out a form and you can get a meeting with us. And if you check out any one of our blogs, there's a book a meeting link in there as well. So certainly you can go to our website and book a meeting with us. But if you're like, hey, I just have a few more questions that you didn't get to, you didn't want to ask today, we do have a couple more that I'm going to read off, but feel free. So, and we do have a proof of concept. We'd be happy to walk you through anything like that. So,
Absolutely.
okay. So getting to the next question. So one more question that came in. So we didn't talk about licensing, and no, we didn't. So we're licensed by protected cloud asset. So, S3 buckets, EC2 instances, Azure storage, whatever you have, we price by that method. There are a few exceptions. So for example, Lambdas are very small, serverless. So 50 Lambdas counts as one cloud asset.
And then
So
containers are 20 to 1.
yes, thank you. And containers are 20 to 1. So I typically use Amazon terminology just because that's the cloud I kind of grew up in. Like the first cloud that I started marketing solutions for was AWS. So I tend to use those terms more
It
often than
became
not.
the Kleenex of your uh,
Exactly.
cloud language.
Exactly. That's a very good analogy.
Oh, thank you.
Um, okay. And then don't see any more questions. I'll give it another couple seconds. Yeah, so I think we handle most of the questions around the AI-based simulation, which makes a lot of sense because it's really, really cool. But we understand that like you're building, someone said, that's going to be so expensive. You're going to build a whole copy. Don't build a whole copy. It's some super secret sauce that they won't even tell me because then I'll put it in a press release and then everybody. So, all right. So Nathan, thank you so much for
Thank you so
participating
much
in the
for having
webinar.
me. Yes. Always a
And
pleasure.
yeah, for sure. And thanks to all of you. Thank you for joining us. The recording will be available on our website probably by tomorrow. Thanks so much and have a great day.